The movie begins with an alien spacecraft falling down to Earth. The mission control and the media are all in command following the situation, confused about what the creature is like, an alien or unidentified flying object, UFO. The mission control reports the data continuously. Henry Burke, who is called to follow the situation, walks into the helicopter that is waiting for him. He asks how long they have before the impact, and at that moment, the spacecraft falls down to Earth.
Impact was 8 minutes ago. How long until we land?
Meanwhile, John, a taxi driver in Las Vegas, is on duty. As he waits, two people come to get a service wearing strange costumes. They struggle to get in because of their costume, and after they settle, they start mocking and pointing a fake gun at him. But he is totally unfazed by them and takes the fake gun from them. He then shows them a "No weapons allowed" sign in his taxi. Henry and his team are on the mountain where the spacecraft crashes. They are amused by what they are seeing, and then suddenly they notice a strange movement from nearby.
Awesome.
Henry orders the others to secure the area and to make sure nothing comes in and nothing goes out. Back in the city, John gets another customer, Dr. Alex. She is going to Planet Hollywood. She is a newcomer to the city. Her gesture and movement show that. At her arrival, John welcomes her. Then she tells him that she is giving a lecture on astrophysical anomaly detection and gives him an invitation card to join, and he accepts it.
Keep the change.
Thanks.
Later that night, John is at his motel. He is unable to sleep due to the high volume of music from the neighbor's room, and he starts training himself in kickboxing. But the other person next door is not happy and screams, telling him that he needs to sleep. Ignoring him, John keeps on with his training.
Yeah, me too.
The next day, the news reports that the worst spill happens in the state's history, and because of that, a 5-mile perimeter has been established. It is informed that the section will be closed indefinitely. Different scientists and police forces are scattered in the area. Suddenly, someone notices a footstep on the ground and quickly scans it. Studying the footprint, Dr. Matheson states that the two aliens coming from the spacecraft are bipedal, a humanoid form. Following his discovery, Henry gives a solid command to review every data-gathering entity within a 50-mile radius. He also warns them to be aware of any anomaly.
Look out for any anomalies.
At the same time, Jack is on his way to his taxi, but he sees that he is blocked by another car. He asks the owners of the car to move it, but they get out and tell him that he is not returning a phone call. It seems he is working for a guy called Mr. Wolf, and the two big guys work for him. Jack tries to walk away, but they get in front of him, blocking his way. Angered by this, Jack retaliates and attacks the two men.
Got a death wish?
Before they get into further confrontation, a police officer comes and they depart. After this, Jack gets into his taxi and starts driving, but suddenly he is shocked when he sees two kids, Sarah and Seth, in the back seat. He asks them how they got inside. They tell him that they came through a portal, and rather than explaining further, Seth asks him to give them service immediately and gives Jack a lot of money. Sarah mentions Jack's name, and Jack is confused about how she knows his name.
How'd you know my name?
She gestures, pointing to his name on the taxi driver's permit card. Then, rather than telling him the specific direction, they want to guide him by telling him the way using their own device. Henry and his team are trying to track the direction of two kids. It turns out they are tracking Sarah and Seth. They use the satellite device and find them. Henry commands access to every single surveillance camera and orders checks on every single building, restaurant, warehouse, and store.
It's like the bus picked up some extra baggage.
Then, one of the team members informs him that the two kids withdraw $15,000 from the ATM without using a card or touching the machine even once, which shocks Henry, making him think that the two kids have extraordinary skills. Finally, the team manages to locate the taxi they get into, Jack's taxi. From the surveillance camera, the team takes the plate number to track them down. Frank then turns to the team and reminds them that what they are tracking are not kids. They are not even humans.
They're not even human.
Jack keeps driving on a highway. He is confused by the money they give him and asks them if their parents are fine with the money they are spending. But Seth, more formal, quickly replies that he doesn't have to be concerned with the money since they agree upon a financial deal. However, Jack explains that the cash they have and the address they are heading to make them more suspicious. The way both Seth and Sarah are talking is strange and extremely formal, despite it being English.
We're just gonna stick with that direction.
Meanwhile, from Jack's taxi company, his boss calls after seeing the distance he is going and jokes that the passengers must pay, or it will be Jack's fault. As they are talking, Sarah interrupts and informs Jack that they are being followed by a car. Jack tells her to relax and reassures her that he will let them pass. However, the cars immediately start attacking them, blocking their way.
Who is Mr. Wolf, Jack Bruno?
But Jack manages to stay in control and keeps moving forward. Seth, upset with the situation, decides to take on the attackers himself and exits the taxi. He steps in front of the attacker's car, and the car crashes when it hits him. Sarah then uses her power to reverse Jack's car and bring Seth back, though Jack is unaware of this. Jack gets out of his car and gives a command to Henry and his team, thinking that his old boss, Wolfie, is behind this. He reminds them that he told Frank and Marty that he is out and leaves them. Henry immediately commands his team to gather more information regarding Jack's profile.
You think he's collaborating?
Jack apologizes for the situation that happened because he thinks all the disaster occurs because of him. Sarah reassures him that he is not to blame. Seth reminds him of the urgency of their trip, and Jack reassures them that he will get them where they want to go on time as compensation.
But the urgency of our trip has not decreased.
The kids arrive at the place they want. Jack is confused because it is basically in the middle of nowhere. Then he notices a nearby house. Jack tells them the amount they need to pay, but Seth quickly gives him a lot of money and gets out of the car quickly. Afterward, Jack gets out of the car to remind them they paid a lot of money, more than what is expected of them. Suddenly, he hears a sound coming from inside the house and decides to go in.
Everything okay in there?
As he looks around, Seth tells him he doesn't have to interfere in the case and suggests he go back to his car. Sarah tells Seth that Jack is trying to help, but Seth quickly replies that they should not trust anyone. Then they go away to the other room. While all this happens, a strange creature with a metal suit is standing behind Jack, but he doesn't notice. Instead, Jack follows them to the room, and Seth opens the secret door, and they get in. Seth uses a small device to open the door. Once inside, Seth opens another door using the same device. Inside is a garden filled with unworldly plants. Jack is surprised by what he is seeing and asks them what the place is.
What is this place?
Ignoring his question, they keep moving forward. Seth calls Sarah, telling her he finds it, pointing to a strange substance. Sarah takes out another device from the strange substance nearby and tells Jack that this is what they are looking for, but they are interrupted by the metal-suited creature. Jack attempts to fight the metal-suited creature, but it proves far too powerful for him. The creature easily knocks Jack aside, but his efforts create a small window of opportunity for the two kids to escape.
Kids!
As the metal-suited creature searches for them, it releases a strange substance, causing Jack and the kids to panic. The creature manages to seize the device from Sarah, but with Jack's help, she retrieves it. Using her powers, Sarah creates a force that temporarily immobilizes the creature, giving them a chance to flee. However, the metal-suited creature quickly recovers and resumes its attack. Jack, carrying an unconscious Seth on his shoulders, barely manages to escape with the kids before the creature can catch them. Afterward, Jack asks what is going on.
Hey, how's your brother doing?
But instead of explaining, Seth commands him to put much more distance than the current location. Frustrated, Jack insists on knowing, but Seth, with his strange way of talking, explains that the information Jack is asking for is not within the grasp of Jack's understanding, and Sarah adds that they are dealing with an issue that is something outside Jack's world.
We're here, Jack Bruno.
Suddenly, they are once again interrupted by the metal-suited creature. Jack manages to get them away, and they end up hiding under a bridge. Finally, they explain that the thing following them is called a siphon, which is an assassin trained to pursue his target until his mission is completely accomplished. As they talk, a blue light trails behind them, but it is unable to reach them. Quickly, Jack starts his engine and starts driving.
Is there a safer route, Jack Bruno?
But Siphon, who is nearby, starts attacking them again. Jack takes the risk of driving through a train, but with the help of Sarah's power, they manage to pass the incident, leaving Siphon completely crashed by the train. Henry's team is gathering information about Jack and clarifying details of the information for Henry. They get information from Jack's boss that he drives a significant distance out of the city and stops transmitting for the past 28 minutes, but his last destination is at the train station. Seth still doesn't trust Jack.
No, we cannot trust him.
But Sarah is full of confidence that Jack will not hurt them. Jack is frustrated because of his car and the situation, and Sarah admits that they are not from the planet Earth. Jack mocks them and tells them that they don't look like aliens. Sarah decides to prove it, and she uses her power to make the CD and coins float in the air, which makes Jack surprised and think that what she is doing is totally impossible. But she reassures him that it is possible and explains that he can't do it because he hasn't learned to use his full brain capacity. Suddenly, they see a car coming from a distance, and the car's engine is unable to start. But when it comes closer, it is just a passerby. Henry and his team are at the train station by helicopter, and they admit that the train engineer is banged up but alive. The train engineer confirms that the last thing he sees is a taxi and a set of flying lights, and they get confused about whether it is a small plane or another spacecraft of an alien. Siphon, who manages to survive the crash, repairs its suit. Jack takes the car for maintenance, but since it is closed, the owner tells them to come back when it is open. Then Sarah uses her mental reading powers and tells Jack that they can only convince Eddie Cortez, the owner, by giving him a lot of money. Eddie is confused because Sarah mentions his name and his needs, and he asks if she knows him. He then finally agrees to repair their car. While the car is being fixed, the trio goes to a bar. Sarah reads Jack's mind about escaping through the back door. Jack is confused by Sarah's awareness of his thoughts and asks her how she knows that. Seth explains that Sarah has a telepathy gift which enables her to read the minds of people. A waiter comes to take their order. However, seeing the children are dirty, she takes Sarah and Seth to the restroom to make themselves clean. At that moment, Jack gets a call from his boss, and Jack replies that he is in a complicated situation.
No, it's really complicated right now.
And quickly hangs up the phone on him when he sees the kids coming. Meanwhile, Sarah tells Jack that she can understand that he is scared of what has happened so far. He suggests to them that he is not the one who can help them, and they should just go to NASA or the Air Force. But Sarah warns him that if he abandons them, their mission will be in serious jeopardy. Unexpectedly, Jack receives a call from Henry, who tells him that he works for the Defense Force and is the one who handles sensitive cases. He asks Jack to help him, but Jack is observing him from the window. Henry suggests making the kids come out of the bar, and Jack accepts. However, Henry doesn't trust him, so he commands the Defense Force to go inside. Inside the bar, Jack approaches the town sheriff and tells him that a lot of guns are coming around.
There's a whole lot of guns coming in right now.
He then leads Seth and Sarah to escape through the back door. When Henry gets in the bar, the sheriff, who is already aware of the situation, stops him and his defense team. While this is happening, the waiter who serves them helps the kids and Jack escape through the back door. Henry gives his badge to the sheriff. The sheriff checks it and admits that he has a big name from the government side, so he checks out and returns his badge. Jack and the kids manage to get out, only to face a dog that starts barking at them. But Sarah manages to control the dog, making him friendly. Then they take their car from the garage, even though there is a lot to fix. Henry commands the defense team to lock down every escape route. Then Sarah uses her power to electrify the place, and they all manage to escape. But in the middle of the road, the car stops, which is intentionally done by Sarah to make the dog join them. Jack refuses, saying that no more strays are getting in his car. But when the defense team starts firing at them, he starts his car. Jack asks Sarah and Seth who the guys following them are. Seth tells him that no one on the Earth planet will survive if they don't return to their planet, and they need their ship to return, which is stolen by by Henry. Jack suggests going back to Vegas, but Seth is still skeptical of Jack and admits that no human will help them. Jack tries to defend himself and admits that he doesn't know how to help them. Unexpectedly, Sarah mentions the name of Dr. Alex, and Jack decides to take them to her because he finally realizes that she is the one who can help them. As they are driving, the dog starts growling. Sarah explains to Jack that he needs to pull over so that the dog can relieve himself, but Jack ignores her, saying that it is just a dog. Finally, he pulls over to let the dog out. Then Sarah reads the dog's mind and tells Jack that the dog needs a bone. Sarcastically, Jack says that is exactly on top of his mind and orders all of them to get inside the car.
Top of my to-do list. Just get in.
Afterward, Jack takes them to Dr. Alex, but he is seen by Frank, who is a member of Wolf's team. Inside the hotel, Alex is presenting, but the audience starts asking if she was abducted by aliens. When she tells them that she wasn't, the crowd keeps interrupting, saying that she wouldn't know if she was abducted because the aliens would erase her memory. She tries to explain, but everyone leaves the hall. At the same time, Jack tries to talk to her, but Alex ignores him. Sarah, as always, uses her power to read Alex's mind and tells her about her own thesis on Gliese 581 and Alcubierre's warp drive, which makes Alex confused.
How did you know that?
Sarah uses her power to make Alex's laptop computer float in the air, which panics Alex. Seth then takes out the small device and shows them who they are by displaying the galaxy and pointing to their planet. Sarah explains that their planet is located 3,000 light years from Earth and matches the details that Alex used to present to the audience. Sarah and Seth confirm that the atmosphere of their planet has become unbreathable and that their parents are scientists who study the Earth. Their parents discovered that the Earth is comfortable for their kind.
That sounds familiar.
They plan to occupy the Earth planet, but there is a problem. Their military chooses invasion over science, and the reason they need their ship is to go back and stop them. Jack asks them where their parents are, and they tell him that their parents are arrested and that they are on Earth to accomplish their parents' task. Quickly, Jack asks about the siphon.
And what about the assassin?
And they admit the assassin is there to kill and will not stop until he accomplishes his task. Then Alex decides to find the spacecraft, but reminds them they need to find Harlan, another scientist. While they are on their way, a man stops her, assuming that Alex has come to accept his offer for a romantic dinner, but she quickly denies his opinion, telling him that she will not date colleagues. Then another man intervenes when she asks about Harlan.
We need to see Harlan right away.
Telling them that Harlan is not available for consultation, but that they are good and qualified enough to answer questions. Alex tries to explain, but they deny her request. Jack warns them that if they are not willing to, they will be dead. After mocking her about being dramatic, they let them in. Alex tells Harlan that she needs to speak with him, emphasizing that it is important. Seth tries to come closer while explaining the issue, but Harlan tells him to back up a little, reminding him that it is not a space camp. He proceeds to tell them that Sarah and Seth are lucky not to have come face to face with the aliens from the ship because the aliens would have killed them.
You got that right.
Alex asks Harlan where the Defense Force will take the spacecraft. Harlan tells them there is only one possibility, which is Witch Mountain around California, and gives them the schematics and other maps that can lead them to the mountain. Before they leave, he reminds them not to trust anyone. Sarah thanks both Alex and Jack and tells them that they don't have to go forward with them, but Alex promises they will get them home. Jack, in turn, tries to stop Alex from coming with them, but she tells him that she has spent her life waiting for this moment, and she will continue forward with them.
So she was thinking about me, huh?
She then goes to her room to grab her stuff. Sarah reads Alex's mind and tells Jack that Alex thinks he is handsome, just the same way he thinks about her. Jack stares at Alex and turns back to find both Sarah and Seth gone. They have gone upstairs. Unexpectedly, Jack is caught by Wolf's big men, but he easily manages to attack them both. At the same time, the two men with strange costumes also recognize Jack and start joking. He then snatches their fake guns and uses them to hit Wolf's men. Later, Jack finds Seth and Sarah watching a sci-fi theater performance. Before they leave, Sarah notices Siphon. Before he can attack, Sarah uses her power to throw stage lights on him. On the other side, Henry and his team are also there, searching for the two kids. Suddenly, they are surrounded by Henry and his team and confused confused about what to do.
Other way, other way.
Sarah reads Jack's mind and she manipulates the jackpot machines, causing the people around to win the game. This creates a commotion and space for them to escape. Alex also joins them and they quickly start heading to Las Vegas. Henry and his team are following the taxi and they manage to surround the taxi, trapping them. But when they approach the taxi driver is not Jack, but Dr. Harlan with his friends in the back seat.
Greetings, Earthlings.
On the other side, Jack, Alex, and the kids are on their way to Witch Mountain using Harlan's car. Alex tells Jack that she never imagined aliens would look like humans, and she keeps talking about science and the universe. After a while, they arrive at Witch Mountain, but they must go 5 miles on foot to reach the entrance, so they start hiking.
Okay.
As they do so, Henry's defense force arrives and stops them. Both Sarah and Seth are tranquilized by them. Jack tries to stop them but can't manage to win against the defense team. Alex tries to explain the situation to Henry. She tells him that the aliens came for peace and that they don't have to respond with violence. The future of Earth depends on their mission, and it is important for them to return to their home. However, Henry responds that they are illegal aliens and landed on US soil without a passport. He reassures her that the Patriot Act gives him permission to detain them for as long as necessary. Frustrated, Alex tells Henry that he can't keep things quiet and reminds him that the world has the right to know that they do exist. Henry, in response, tells her about her failure as an astrophysicist by reminding her that she was fired by 3 universities for obsessing over UFOs, and he totally dismisses Alex's idea. Henry then threatens Jack, telling him he will be punished for 20 years just for standing on the mountain and talking to him. Fearing prison, Jack agrees to go back, which frustrates Alex because it is something she doesn't expect from him.
They trusted you. I trusted you.
While the defense force is taking Jack and Alex gets into conflict with Jack because he gives up so quickly. She tells him that they will dissect Sarah and Seth like frogs in a laboratory for further experimentation. He replies that it is not his problem. Quickly, she slaps him. Noticing the disagreement between them, the soldier turns his face, and using this opportunity, Jack manages to hit both soldiers and escape. At the laboratory, both Sarah and Seth are unconscious. Henry asks the doctor how much time it will take for the subjects to be prepared. The doctor confirms that it will take 48 to 72 hours since they are heavily sedated. However, Henry is in a hurry and commands him to start the procedure. The doctor reminds him that any sudden changes could terminate the subjects, but for the last time, Henry reminds him that the command comes from Washington and that their goal is to provide those answers on time. He asks the doctor if he is really capable. Without any other choice, the doctor agrees.
You can't just kill them.
Jack and Alex are on their way to save Sarah and Seth. They go through a tunnel to reach the laboratory, and Jack reminds Alex of their plan to not get caught and save the kids. On the other side, Henry is on a call, clarifying that they are close to determining the source of the powers from Sarah and Seth, and that he is confident in the project he is handling regarding Sarah and Seth. At the laboratory, the team is informed that there is a security breach, but no one notices that Jack and Alex are in the laboratory room. Siphon, on the other hand, destroys the gateway and emits powerful radiation against the defense force. At this point, Jack and Alex stop the doctors from continuing the procedure, kicking them out. Henry and his team are unable to control the power of Siphon, and Henry commands the team to head to the laboratory room. Both Sarah and Seth regain consciousness and manage to unlock themselves. When Henry and his team arrive, they find that Sarah and Seth are no longer there. Jack, in the lead, helps the group reach the spacecraft. Sarah suggests they must hurry, and Alex pretends to be part of the team, telling the others that work in the sector must cease immediately. She reminds them about the substances and radiation that could have severe consequences. Initially, one of the doctors asks her who she is, but she manages to convince him, and they all leave. Sarah and Seth open their spacecraft, but before they move forward, Henry and his team arrive just in time and warn them to stop. Henry starts shooting at them in different directions, but Seth uses his power to make the bullets float. At that moment, Siphon arrives at the scene, which creates an opening for Jack and his team to escape. Seth quickly manages to operate the spacecraft. Siphon destroys and kills the defense force. The defense team keeps shooting at him, but his suit is strong enough to handle the gunshots. Meanwhile, Seth flies the spacecraft, crashing into Siphon. The gateway is about to close, so they hurry to get out before it does. They succeed, and the spacecraft manages to move past it and escape. Unexpectedly, Siphon is inside the spacecraft. Jack approaches and the two start fighting. Siphon is very strong and powerful, so Jack struggles during the fight. Suddenly, Jack takes off the mask of Siphon, revealing a strange and different-looking creature. Finally, with Seth's help, Jack wins the fight. The spacecraft lands and the group gets out. Sarah and Seth approach Jack and Alex and give them a device that will help them find them again. Before departing, Alex tells them that their parents will be proud and hugs them. Seth apologizes to Jack for not trusting him, and Jack promises Sarah that he will take care of her dog. The farewell ends in tears, and the two kids get into their spacecraft to take off to their planet. While Henry and the Defense Force represent fear of the unknown and a misuse of power, Jack and Alex show us that compassion, understanding, and cooperation can overcome even the toughest challenges. Their journey emphasizes the value of standing up for what is right, protecting those who cannot protect themselves, and believing in the power of unity.